Well, welcome everybody back to the Flying Doghouse. It's a fly day. It's a fly day and a new PC day. I thought it might be fun to jump over to First Flight. We'll have a go in the Cessna 414W, and we'll take a look at least some of the things that I am seeing now that I have successfully installed Flightsim 2020 and 2024 on the new rig. So I can tell you that the process for getting 2024 back up and running with everything that was sort of built in and anything from the marketplace and my controller configs, all that stuff came back across just ultra smooth. The rest of the stuff is kind of on me, right? So definitely appreciative of the quality of that experience from Microsoft and Asobo. So I'll give them a shout out for that. I've also been able to successfully reinstall SPAD Next. I also use add-ons Linker. That is now successfully reinstalled. Little nav map is now working. So there. We're well on our way to reinstalling third-party aircraft too. Kind of working through that process as well. But I thought it would be, it might be informative to kind of talk through at least what I'm experiencing. So, what you're looking at is 2024, and this is on my new PC that I got over the weekend. So it's an i9. It has an RTX 5080 video card, 64 gig of RAM. I have multiple terabytes of storage, so I do feel like this rig is going to last me more than a minute. So at any rate, I do have all the settings right now, just to sort of cut to the chase. I do have all the settings over on Ultra. I am not using frame generation. So far, so good. I'll go in and tweak and see what last bit I can wrangle out of the machine. But I was having, Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 issues on the regular prior to the upgrade. So far, I'm 1 week in, just about, and I've only had one crash to dust. So that part of it has been very, very pleasing. So to that end, edit aircraft. And most of the stuff I've checked. Full selectors, shape. Magnetos are on, battery. Start the engines. Throttles. Alright, engine 1 is alive. Let's go ahead and start engine number 2. A good start with that. RPM coming up. Avionics turned on. That's doing its thing. I pause recording and I will meet over at the end of the runway and we'll have a quick fly and take a look at the exterior graphic shots here. See what you think of the RTX 5080. Okay, we'll be right back. All right, as promised, we are sitting at the end of runway 3. Get our flaps configured for takeoff. Hold check. Very good. Ready to roll. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm not using frame generation right now. And so far, no stutters. Let's see if that's true over the long haul. All right, so we'll go ahead and run these up. Take off here. Speed. Okay. Positive rate. You're coming up. Flaps coming in. Hello to the Atlantic on a summer's day, almost 100 degrees here in Charlotte. It's a tad hot. The ocean water is looking quite refreshing. All right, way around here. So I have live weather, live traffic, all that stuff turned on. Make our way across here. One of the things you're going to notice in this in the 24 if you have live stuff turned on, you're going to see boat names. I know that are quite entertaining. Flying around earlier before I started recording, there was a boat hearing a sound called fishy fish. So again, quite amazing at the amount of data that they push into this thing. Both aircraft and shipping and recreational boating. Alright, so Gratitude is still out there. There's a sand dredger here. Oh, there's Mystic Blue. There's Fish Wish. Fishy Fish's cousin. Traffic. There's Miss Caroline. That's the dredger I was talking about earlier. And here's Double Hill. Make our way over here. We'll do a overfly of the memorial, and then we'll make our way back down to the ground. We'll take a look at some of the settings that I'm currently using. So, pushing the display that you see. The park ranger won't mind us going right over the top of the memorial. We'll buzz the workshop in the hangar. That'll be fun. It must be done. Here's the visitor center, along with the flight markers from the original flights. Point that out if you're not familiar with this location. Orville and Wilbur's site of their powered flights in December of 19. Always get the year. If I'm wrong, y'all will let me know. Alright, here's the airfield. Fly back across the get myself set back up for a good approach. Go back over to the sounding and teardrop our way in. Alright, airspeed is well managed at the moment. Gear coming down, setting a flap. Slowed up here. High school down here below us. I'll check that on the map. Fun little airfield. The scenery is unique. All right, making our way in here. As we go. Taxi over here. Turn out. Need to taxi back to the ramp. All right, so let's jump in the airplane. So, we'll take a look at settings here. Talk a little bit about 2024 configs to produce these kinds of results. So, escape key up to the gear. All right, so we'll concentrate today on the on graphic settings here. So I am running full screen, 2560 by 1440. I am using DLSS Super. I have the super resolution setting to auto. I am not using frame generation yet, so I'll be experimenting with that in the next days. Do not have VSync turned on at the moment. I do have NVIDIA Reflex low latency turned on. I have dynamic settings turned on. And I took a look at global render. So currently I have terrain level of detail and object level of detail set at 200. I'll play around with that most things you're going to see down here in the list are set to either ultra or high, with the preponderance of them being ultra. Again, I'll be tweaking and mixing and matching to optimize the load on the graphics card and the CPU. So far, no worries, and I'm getting a very very high frame rate. So very very pleased with that. No jittering. Minimum amount of observable artifacting that I am seeing. Um, so at any rate, what does all of this mean? So I did a video a couple of weeks ago about, is Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 going to be the best flight sim ever? And one of the reasons I wanted to do that video was really to point out that we've all had varying experiences with the sim. And I think there are several things in play with that, right? So first and foremost, I think that from my point of view, Microsoft and Asobo, while they have done some great work with the sim, I think they are still learning and growing and evolving. I'll say it this way today, in terms of how they manage releases and how they're doing QA testing, because the initial launch was awful, and there's just no way to sugarcoat that. Uh, a lot of folks will try to make excuses about the level of complexity. I'm sorry, they've been doing flight simming for quite some time, and there are some lessons learned that should have been laid upon the table, and acted upon, as they rolled out 24. Um, I think one of the other interesting things is that we've all had varying levels of success or frustration with the sim. Some of it I'm going to attribute to chaos theory. Some of it I'm going to attribute to, development and quality assurance testing and release management. The other part of it, which is a factor, is, do we have appropriate expectations given our hardware that we're trying to run the sim on? And does that correctly align with the settings that you're trying to use inside the sim? So the NVIDIA app, I think, has helped some folks, get there. Um, Although some of the problems are universal and seem to be cross-platform, right? If you're on a group flight and there are three people all at once having exactly the same issue, that's not platform. That's not related to hardware or settings. So you can't blame that on, oh, well, Bob's PC config must be, garbage, or he must have something, misconfigured to be having all of these problems. And that's not fair. And it's also not accurate. Um, Again, there are lots of moving pieces and parts that can factor into that equation. So, is it an issue? Yeah, I do think that folks have unrealistic expectations about the level of settings that they're able to run given their hardware that they have in place. So, what would I recommend to folks? Use as much of your available PC as you can, as it is capable of, but strike a balance. Take some time and go in and tweak settings. Yes, it takes forever. Yes, sometimes they get reset. But once you get your config balanced, right, and you're balancing performance versus what your visual quality is, then document it and then leave it alone. And make sure that you pay attention to driver updates and use the recommended driver set from Microsoft. I think being an early adopter for a NVIDIA video update push is probably not a good idea, but that's my opinion. Your mileage definitely might vary. So the other piece of advice I would say is if you have the means to be able to upgrade your machine to a higher end level of computer, then you need to do it. If you're having lots of problems all the time, then definitely do it. Some of you may have a platform that might just need a video card tweak, or you might need some more RAM or some more disk space. But in my particular case, you know, my PC, my gaming PC that I had that I purchased, I guess it was 4 years and change old. It was ready to go do other things in the household. So I did go ahead and make the jump and do an upgrade and bought an Alienware. It has a i9 processor, and I went through the Intel versus AMD debate with myself. At the end of the day, I went with Alienware, and they use Intel. So there's that. I have 64 gig of RAM. I have multiple terabytes of storage, and then the RTX 5080, which really does seem to be working some magic. I know that that video card gets mixed reviews depending on who you ask. But so far, so good for me. I am pleased with the purchase, and we will be using it over the long haul. All right, so there you go. There's your takeaway. Use as much PC as you can afford for the hobby. And if you're having lots of problems, you need to look at a hardware up. The other thing that I think that makes significant difference is, what's your bandwidth out to the internet? Slower bandwidth speeds are going to themselves to exacerbating, connectivity issues that we have from time with the Microsoft servers. So, but in fairness to Microsoft, I think that has gotten much better over time. So, as compared to where we were 6 months ago. All right, so I hope this has helped a bit. Perhaps it has created an itch that you might need to scratch. But I'd be very interested in hearing from you in terms of, well, what's your config and what kind of experience have you had from the get go with Flightsim.to? It really seems to be all over the map, but I would be curious to hear if you're not having problems with 20 and you haven't. I'd really be interested in having some insight in terms of what your hardware configuration is for Sim and what platform you're. All right, with that, I think we're going to leave it here. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you as a channel subscriber. We also like to hear from folks in terms of comments. Have a post and take a look at the polls and other content that we publish over on the community side of YouTube. And with that, I'm going to leave it here. I hope everyone is keeping well. And until next time, as always, cheers, y'all.